I already know why you clicked on this video, because you are looking for a Japanese or JDM car that you can own for around 10k or less. This is gonna be for UK prices just because I know it better, but usually it's pretty much the same price anywhere else. Keep in mind that I said Japanese or JDM cars. That's because not all Japanese cars are JDM, but we will cover Japanese sports cars in general, whether they're JDM or not. It's up to you which one you want. Without further ado, let's get started. The first one on this list is the 2022 Subaru Impreza, aka the BUGEYE. You already know that this car is gonna be on this list. Subaru has been making WRXs since the 90s. It's basically a rally car made for the road. Yes, the BUGEYE is not as popular as the Hawkeye and Blob-Eye WRXs, but this one is actually something to consider. You can get your hands on a BUGEYE WRX for under 5k, and for that price, you'll be getting the all-wheel drive and turbocharged engine. Much like the Hawkeye and the Blob-Eye WRX, the BUGEYE still has a huge aftermarket support, but that's just Subarus in general. A lot of enthusiasts get the WRX of any year, modify them and use them for rallycrossing or track days. That's a good thing and also a bad thing, but it depends how you want to look at it. Because they're so popular, there is a huge solid community that can help you if you run into issues. But you gotta think that the WRX in general gets trashed around a lot and have had their engines abused by some previous owners. So it won't be a surprise if you need to work on them a little bit. If you plan to get one, checking for oil leaks is a must because they tend to suffer from it, most likely from worn head gaskets. But overall, if you want a car that is under 5 grand, fun, practical because it has 4 doors, and can be used all year around whether it's snowing or raining, the BUGEYE WRX is for you to consider. The Mazda RX-8. The Mazda RX-8 wasn't as successful as the Mazda RX-7. RX-7 prices at the moment are getting so high it's ridiculous, so you won't be getting that for under 5 grand. But if you still want a high revving rotary engine, the RX-8 could be a car for you to consider. The advantages of actually getting this over the RX-7 is that RX-8s are just cheaper in general and are just more modern. You can pick one up for around 800 to 2 grand depending on the condition the car is in. Keep in mind that this is for those who wouldn't mind a high maintenance sports car. You would also need knowledge on how to actually look after a rotary engine because they require extra attention on a daily basis. Like you need to warm up the car for some time before you can actually drive the thing. And you would need an extra budget for oil because this car just drinks a lot of oil in general. That's just how rotary engines work. That would be for another video. The main thing you really need to know is that topping up oil on a daily basis is a must, and the apex seals on the 3 corners of the rotor inside break over time. But if you don't mind all of that, this is a great car to own. It is actually advised that you trash the hell out of it, like redlining and revving this car to avoid carbon buildup. It also handles pretty well because of the fact that the rotary engine is just smaller than your regular piston engine. Another car to consider if you want a car that's high revving but more reliable is the Honda Civic. Now I'm not going to get into detail about the specs of Civics because there's just too many of them. All you need to know is that there are 2 types of Civics. Those that have the economy D-Series engines and the more fun B-Series and K-Series engines. Prices will depend on the condition of the car and what type of engine the Civic has under the hood. But regardless of what Civic you get, they tend to be some of the most fun front-wheel drive cars you will ever drive. Their prices vary from around £600 to almost £3,500 for 90s and early 2000 models. I wouldn't pay more than 5 grand on a used Civic though, not even a turbo EG, unless it's a JDM Civic EK9, FD2 Civic, or the latest Civic Type R. But you can still have fun with the cheaper Civics though, since aftermarket parts for them are everywhere. I've owned like 4 of them. And much like Subarus, they have a huge following, so there's a lot of people that can help you if you're thinking of modifying your Civic. Their engines have also been known to be so reliable, they can basically last forever if you take care of it. Later down the road, if you're thinking of swapping to a more modern engine, you can. A 1992 Civic EG hatch that has a K-Series engine swap that has a turbo strapped onto it and can make over 400 horsepower isn't unheard of. Mitsubishi FTO. A lot of you probably haven't even heard of the Mitsubishi FTO because it is so underrated. I personally think it deserves more attention though. Anyway, the reason not a lot of people actually consider getting the FTO is because apparently it is so expensive to insure. It's much cheaper to insure a Honda S2000. It is also severely underpowered, but we will get to that later. Anyway, the manual FTO is great for downshifting in country roads, but if you wanted more power, you would need to consider the automatic variant because it has Mitsubishi's V6 MIATA engine. This is also why I said it's underpowered, because it only makes roughly around 200 horsepower out of a V6. There isn't a lot of aftermarket support for the FTO either. That's why some people would rather get the other cars in this list. But if mods ain't really your thing and you're just looking for a nice JDM sports car that's fun, then the FTO might be for you. I know, you guys already anticipated that the MIATA will be on this list. I mean, why shouldn't it be? After all, MIATA is always the answer. You can pretty much use this car for anything. Car enthusiasts from all over the world use this car as a track car, race car, drift car, show car, and even off-roading. Trust me, the list is endless. That is why the MIATA is such a popular tuner car. Although they're slightly going up in value, you can pick a MIATA up for just under 3 grand. Prices will also vary on the year, model, and the condition of the car. Now, all MIATAs of any generation have a very bulletproof engine that can potentially make a lot of power with the right mods. But the most popular is the NA, which is the first generation MIATA, mainly because of the classic pop-up headlights. I mean, everyone loves them pop-up headlights. Now, the MIATA is one of them underpowered sports cars, but this car isn't really about the speed. It's about the handling, because its chassis is so agile and light, which makes them fun on twisty roads. Get one and you probably wouldn't want to own another car. If you don't mind a sports car that has a tiny hint of danger, then the MR2 could be something you could look into. I said danger because models before 1993 were known to snap oversteer. Toyota actually fixed this issue though. The models after 93 have had some components upgraded to prevent snap oversteer, so you shouldn't really be scared of the MR2. Unless you're a really bad driver, then you would need to look at other cars. But if you are interested in this mid-engine sports car, then you might be glad to know that you can pick up an SW20 MR2 for under 5 grand. Again, prices may vary depending on the condition of the car and whether if it's a turbo or not, but they're generally below the 5k mark. And who would have thought that you can get a mid-engine sports car that looks like a Ferrari for under or around 5 grand. Anyway, if you're a beginner, I recommend that you stick with a non-turbo first, because they're just much easier to maintain. Turbo versions run into more issues in general because, well, duh, it's a turbo. Turbo cars are just more prone to issues over time. But if you're up for the challenge, get a turbo. It's more fun. The Nissan 300ZX is often overlooked because of the Skyline GTR, but that's actually a good thing because it's way cheaper than a GTR and even a Supra. And you can actually get a twin turbo in this thing. Its 3-litre twin turbo V6 have been known to make around 300 horsepower. That's a lot of horsepower for just under 5 grand, although prices may vary depending on the condition of the car. Prices are actually starting to go up slightly for used 300ZXs, but you can still find some for under 5 grand. Still cheaper than a GTR. Anyway, with great power comes with great responsibility, as Uncle Ben and Aunt May said to Peter Parker. So this is for the more experienced car enthusiasts watching this video. I also wouldn't recommend this as a daily driver since it drinks fuel a lot. It's more of a weekend car. So if you're looking for a fast Nissan that is packing a lot of power for less than 5 grand, then this car might be for you. If you're looking for a Honda but you don't want a Civic because it's just too small for your taste, then an Accord Type R might be for you. It's basically the Civic's much older and bigger brother. The Accord Type R is actually a really good car if you just want a much more grown-up looking Honda. It's much more spacious than a Civic and also has a bigger 2.2 VTEC engine. It has slightly more torque than a stock Civic, which makes this a very good all-round sports saloon. This is for you guys that still want a Honda that's slightly more powerful with more space. I know a few Honda enthusiasts that already have a family that drives this thing. And if you really think about it, this actually makes school runs more fun. Imagine hitting VTEC and your kid is loving it. Actually, don't put your kid's life in danger by driving fast, but you get my point, right? These are just some of the Japanese sports cars you can get for under 10 grand. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and let me know if I should make more list videos like this. I also made videos on the common issues of certain sports cars, so you should probably check that out. With that being said, I'll see you on the next video.